welcome. My name is Cedric, and I'm here on behalf of Barry and Marie Franklin, and of course, a life celebration by Franklin. Please forgive Barry and Marie. They're running just a little bit behind right now, but it's for a good reason. It's because they're currently finishing up some important preparations for our upcoming life celebration services that we have coming up, and also a few events that we have at the new event center. So we'll have more details on that event center part. But in the meantime, we're so glad that you joined us for this month's Grief Symposium. And so, right now, please be sure to visit us at alcbf.com/grief. That is our grief page. And you can get all the details about our upcoming in person dates and just get more information about our grief support offerings. And also, if you're on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on our future live streams and all the good stuff that's going on with the Life Celebration by Franklin. And please feel free to share that page, and also feel free to share this link with anyone that you know and anyone that you know that may benefit from having some grief support. That's what we do. And so this month's topic is grieving in community, how to navigate social dynamics. And we are honored, as always, honored to have the Dr. Tonya Cunningham, the grief doc, leading our conversation. Hello, Dr. Cunningham.
Hello there, Cedric. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. The Franklins kind of put me on the spot a little bit today, but it's okay.
You handle it. Let
We
me
know how to
tell
pivot.
you.
We know how to pivot. We make
You
it
know how
work
to
out.
pivot, and you pivoting well. Your voice, I'm telling you,
Well,
your voice is
thank you.
taking me in. You're great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, I don't want to take up any more time. I'm going to hand it right on over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, great afternoon to everyone. Welcome again, as Cedric said, to our monthly grief symposium that is hosted by the Franklins and a Life Celebration. If this is your first time, those of you who are watching again via YouTube, or if you're on Facebook, if this is your first time being with us, would you kindly put a 1 in the comment section, and our digital team will certainly acknowledge you. We always want to make mention and acknowledge those who are here for the first time, because we value people. This service is not just for, excuse me, excuse me. This service is not just for the families that they have serviced. They have graciously opened it up to anybody. And of course, when we're online, that means that we can reach cross state lines. But when we're in person, again, if you're in the area, the Austin area, you are welcome to come. So we appreciate those of you who are here for the very first time. As Cedric has asked, I'm going to ask the same thing. Would you share the broadcast while we're on live? That way, some people may be able to hop on and to get this information, because we believe that sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. And if you want the handout that I'm going to go over today, you can look in the description area of each video on Facebook or YouTube. You can find the link there and you can download the handout. Okay, I am an old school girl when it comes to that. I love paper and pen. I love this digital area that we're in. But I also, when it comes to things like this, I still like hardback books. I'm not a person that I can't do audible books. It just doesn't resonate with me. And so I look like hardback. So if you're able to if it works for you, you're able to do this, print it, download the handout, print it off so you can go back over this, because you're going to need it not just for today, but definitely on your grief journey, depending upon where you are. So that's where you can find the handout. You can look in the description space and you can click the link and you can download it. You can download it. So before we move into today's topic, I want to always ask, you can put in the chat, those of you who have been here before, you already know what I'm getting ready to ask. What have you done to take care of yourself? What have you done to take care of yourself since I saw you last month? And if you remember last month, I was in Chicago. I was coming to you from Chicago, had a couple of speaking engagements there. And our topic, again, while I was there for our monthly symposium for you guys, was about self-care in the midst of sorrow. Self-care. Okay, so It is very important that you take care of yourself. So you can go ahead and put in the chat some of the things that you have done, if you don't mind sharing what you have done since we saw you last. So I always like to start out and lead by example, and I'll look in the comment sections just to see some of the things that you may say. What have I done since I saw you last? So because I was busy during that time I saw you traveling, I have been resting more. I've been intentional about my rest while I was feeling well while travel. Uh, as you get older, your body starts responding a different way. So I have to rest it more. I have to rest it more. So I've been resting my body. I have been going to my own therapy sessions, which has been helpful to me. So I have my once a month therapy. I had my session a couple of weeks ago. And let's see, what else have I done? I'm saying no when I am exhausted. You know, I'm saying no, even if it's something I have been committed to. One of my mentees asked me that the other day. She says, "What do you do for self care? And if you have something scheduled, do you counsel it if you don't feel well?" Absolutely, I will. Absolutely, I will. Now, there was a time when I did not do that. I did not do that. I would push on through and to my detriment. But now, if it's something to where I don't believe that I can push through, I don't have the strength to do so, I will cancel or I will reschedule, and I'll reach out and I'll ask, do they have someone who can fill in for me? I just believe in God's divine timing. I believe that nothing just happens. I believe it was Bishop Jakes who preached that message years ago. Nothing just happens. So, yes, that's what I've been doing. I've been leaning into saying no when I am exhausted. When people ask me, can I go or can I do such and such? I say, thank you for inviting me, but I'm not going to be able to make it. Not going to be able to make it. So those are the things that I have been doing for myself. Thank you, Mike, for being our scribe on Facebook. Thank you so much for doing that. So the homework that you were supposed to do for yourself was to make a self-care plan, right? If we don't plan, then we plan to fail. So you must make it a part of your everyday life versus looking at self-care as something that you have to fit in your schedule. I know for me that's what it was like. It was very difficult in the very beginning because I would always say, like some of you say, I don't have time to go to the gym. So since I don't have time to go to the gym, that means I need to exercise here at home. So I created a home gym for me. Okay, so figure out what you need to do. And your homework was to look at all the different areas of your life, your physical, your mental, your emotional, relational, all of that, and pick just one self-care thing you're going to do. Just one. Because a lot of times we can get overwhelmed and not do anything because we've got so many things that we've got to work on. But my encouragement to you is just to pick one area. Don't try to do all of them. If it was overwhelming to pick one thing in all of those areas, then just pick one area. Just pick one area and you want to go for that. I can give you an example. For me, again, the area that I chose to start working on over a decade ago. See, I've been working on this over a decade. Is I started with my mental and my emotional health. Okay. So now I'm more focused on my physical health, my body. And I'm doing things I need to do. I've mastered my mental and my emotional dimension of who I am in the sense that I can manage it. I have good emotional intelligence when it comes to those areas. But now I need to use the same kind of energy that I invested into my mental and my emotional health. Now I'm investing that in my physical health. I'm investing that in my physical health. So if you haven't done it already, we definitely want you to do so. We want you to make a self-care plan. And the next thing you want to do is execute it. Execute it. Execute the plan. So we're going to move into today's topic. Today's topic is grieving in community, how to navigate social dynamics. That can certainly be challenging. I was just speaking with someone not too long ago, and they were sharing their loved one passed, and they were sharing, I used to be this outgoing person, but now I don't like being in crowds since my loved one died. and that person talked about again how difficult it is to be in social settings. So we want to definitely help you with that, help you navigate being in social settings. And if you have the handout, you'll see the graphic there. It's a lady, looks like they're having a party in the backyard. It's full of people, but she's standing at a distance. She's standing at a distance, and the crowd is over in the other area of the yard. That's what people in grief feel like. You can be in a room full of people, but still feel isolated and distant. So we're going to help you with that. We want to help you with that because the reality is grief does change us. It does change us. And change is not bad, but it is certainly uncomfortable in the very, very beginning because we are used to doing what we do and we were used to doing it how we did it. Okay. As human beings, we are creatures of habit. We love what we love, like what we like, how we like it. Don't come in here trying to change anything. Although a lot of us say, I want change. I want to get better. I want to lose weight. I want to get out of debt. I want to date. These are all the things that you want to do. And when it's time to change, to do that, a lot of times we have trouble with that. We have trouble with that. We have trouble. So grief changes who we are. We're not the same person. One of the biggest mistakes that people will make when they're experiencing a loss, especially a death loss, is they try to go back to life like it used to be. And you cannot, because life has changed. So not only does grief change who you are, but it also can change your relationships. And that's another level of grief because you've changed, and then sometimes it's the other people, your friends or your family or coworkers, those people have changed, and it creates another level of grief for you because your relationships have changed, and sometimes you lose them. Sometimes you lose those relationships, people that you were connected to for whatever reason. Sometimes you can become distant, and it causes you to experience another level of grief. So grief, again, is never experienced in isolation, although it may feel like it. Although it may feel like it, actually, it happens in the context of our family, of our friends, of our coworkers, in the workplace, and even in society, okay? So while grief is personal, can you put that in the chat for me? Grief is personal, but it is also deeply communal. It is also deeply communal. Okay, so whether you like it or not, we are faced with this duality of grief when it comes to individual healing and collective navigation. So, how you're healing through this process, and then you got to figure out how you're going to navigate when you're with other people. And some of you, you're navigating through the space of your family because it's a bunch of y'all, it's several of y'all. And it can be challenging when you're in a family and you're having to grieve together when a loved one died. Because when one person is up, the other person may be down, or vice versa. Okay, so it can definitely be challenging to experience. So grief is individual and collective. Can you guys put that in the chat? Grief is individual and collective. Y'all excuse my voice this morning. I preached this morning at my church, and it's a little bit raspy there, just a little bit exhaustion there, but that is okay. In my voice, we are good. I just need to drink some more water. So grief is individual and collective. Now, on a personal level, it involves this unique experience of emotions, your coping style, and your timelines. And in the handout, it says no two people grieve in the same way. That's a typo. I will change that. If you have the handout, that is a typo. If you follow me in any length of time, I've taught you that we grieve the same, because grief is what happens on the inside, but we mourn differently. So the handout should read, and I'll make that change, no two people mourn in the same way. And each person's journey is shaped by their relationship to the loss, their personality, and their personal resilience. Okay? So at the same time, grief is also communal. So you have this personal, individual experience, but it's also communal because the loss ripples through the family. It ripples through the family. It ripples through churches. workplaces, and even nations. Think about, let's see, what was the last loss we just had? Theo from the Cosby Show. What's his name? Malcolm Jamal Warner. It rippled through our nation. It crossed all cultures. Even though we didn't meet him personally, he was a household name by way of television and media in our homes every single evening. So that was a ripple effect. Okay, it can happen right now in our church. We've had one of our major members passed on last Sunday. That's a ripple effect. It can affect not just you, but the entire body. Okay, so a death in a congregation, it can in fact affect the entire church family. It really can, altering the atmosphere and the way people connect. So let's think about workplace. Have you been in a space where you worked at this place of employment and somebody died? And a lot of times what happens, unfortunately, they don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. So we want you to be able to acknowledge that loss, your coworker. Okay? It can shift the morale. It definitely can shift productivity and daily interactions. I'm working with a mentee right now who's getting ready to go speak about grief in corporate settings, because she shared how she worked for a corporate organization and on assembly line making cars. And then one of the coworkers died by some tragic accident that used to stand on the assembly line next to her or another one of her coworkers. The person died and management said nothing about it. Nothing about it. They just filled the spot and expected the workers to keep working. But that definitely impacted the morale of the workers. The morale of the workers. So a loss within a family, within an organization, it definitely changes the relationship dynamics. It can change the relationship dynamics. So let's talk about some social dynamics in grief. Social, when we talk about that, that's when you are connected with other people. Some of us were in the house a lot, especially if we work remotely. When it's time to come outside, we don't know how to connect with other people. So it says when we look at social dynamics, we notice the expectations often clash with the reality of what's going on. Okay, so people may say things like this: shouldn't you be over this by now? Your loved one died 2 years ago. Shouldn't you be over this? Statements like that, it reveals unrealistic timelines that's imposed by other people. And if you've heard me teach, you know, I've taught you based upon what David Kessler teaches. Again, I concur with him that grief never ends, but he has this timeline that when a person dies, you're in what he calls acute grief. Acute grief. And then the first 2 years after the death, you're in what he calls early grief. And then after 3 years, 3 years up until today, you're in what is called mature grief. So just because it's been 2 years, it doesn't mean that you're over that, right? You've heard me teach. You never get over the loss or the grief, but you do get over the pain of it. You do get over the pain of it. Just before I logged in with y'all, I had a grief moment. I had a grief moment. Today is my god sister's birthday. She would have been 60. She died in December of 2023, and her birthday is today. And I thought about it earlier this morning, but my focus was on my assignment of ministry, so I didn't post or anything. But after church, I saw one of her sisters posted one of those AI videos. Have you guys seen those where the people fly off with wings? They gain their angel wings and they fly off. And I just reposted it. So I looked at her sister's video and the tears just started flooding. Because I really haven't had the opportunity to express my grief because I'm supporting her family. I'm expressing my grief, but not to the extent that I will once we finish dealing with the business of grief. So shouldn't you be over it by now is a unrealistic timeline that people will impose upon you. Okay. What else is the dynamic when it comes to socialization? Some people expect grieving people to always Be strong, especially if you're a person that's always showing strength. People expect you to do the same thing in death when your loved one dies. I've heard it. People will tell other people, be strong for everybody else. And I'm just standing next to that person. And I really want to just pop some people like, don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. Okay. You need to allow them to express their emotions so that the emotions can pass through. So yeah, some people are always expected to show strength while others expect constant vulnerability, just depending upon what you normally lean to. And it just basically creates confusion or a confusing tension between the two. Okay, the goal is do you. But when it comes to socialization, that can be a problem. Another problem in socialization is when you're dealing with people is communication breakdown. It can complicate your grief process, especially in a community when the communication breaks down. So, out of discomfort, some people may avoid the grieving person altogether. Can anybody relate to that? That you never heard from your friend again or a family member. They avoid you altogether, while others misinterpret the way the grief is expressed, be it loud sorrow, or it may be excessive, or you may be quiet. A lot of times you're going to be misjudged. So communication is something that people struggle with when it comes to socialization and getting back out in the world. Getting back out in the world, people will say, I don't know what to say to you, so I'm not going to say anything at all. That's one of the worst things that we could do. And we understand life happens to some people, but reach out to the person that's grieving, because when you don't, it makes them think that you don't care. It makes them think that you don't care. So, what is some other social dynamics? Recognizing that grief often brings role shifts, meaning shifting roles, especially if that person was an active person and they did a lot. They did this and they did that. I've heard many people say, man, my mom died, but she was not just my mom, she was my confidant. So I lost my mother figure and I lost my person that I told all of my secrets to. So the roles have to shift. If the mother was the one who took care of the house or paid the bills. When our mother died, when my sisters and our mother passed, mother was the cook of the family, right? She was that soul food Sunday kind of person. Every Sunday, it was a huge spread. A huge spread, and we were expected, no matter how grown in age we were expected to come over for Sunday dinner. And we would do that. And then when mother was dying, some of you have heard me share this story before, that I was concerned about the role, who's gonna cook, because who can't cook? Well, I can cook better now. Back then, I couldn't cook a lick. I couldn't do nothing. I'm like, Lord Jesus, what is our daddy gonna eat? Who's gonna get this role? So we have to shift roles, okay, within a family, and that can look different. That can look different, depending upon what that person did. Depending upon what the person did. And then lastly, what's another thing that impacts our social dynamics? Cultural and faith expressions. Cultural and faith expressions, they shape our social dynamics. What do I mean? Some cultures are loud and expressive, while others are quiet. So if, for example, your culture tends to be quiet, but you feel a cry bubbling up within you, you want to let it out, but you don't, because your culture says we're going to be quiet. We're going to be quiet. Okay, that's going to impact you. I have a great story to share and to demonstrate that. Years ago, this was way before the pandemic came, when I was doing a grief support group in funeral homes. And I was going to, but every day of the week, I was going to a different funeral home and hosting a 6-week grief support group series. And it was a lady that came, and she was of the Hispanic culture, and her husband died. She had a big family, loving family, and but she did not allow anybody to express emotions. She didn't. She was very stoic. So she projected that on her entire family. And some of her children wanted to be expressive, but they couldn't cry because mother didn't allow them to cry. And I remember she came and she shared, she said, "Young lady, I'm so glad that you're teaching this information because I didn't realize the pressure that I was adding, not only on myself, but to my family." And she shared that when she went to the rosary the night before the actual mass, the funeral mass, she said she went to the rosary, but before she went there, she made an announcement to her family members at home: "We will not cry at the rosary. There will be no tears. There will be no tears." She gave the instructions. When they got to the rosary, she went to go view her husband's body and she leaned over. She leaned over and her nose started bleeding profusely. It started bleeding profusely to the point that she couldn't stop it. And she said, my family physician was present at the rosary. And the physician came up and said, "I am so glad that you're finally having some manifestation of your grief." And she was basically telling the lady that you're going to have to cry. You're going to have to let it out. The reason her nose was bleeding so profusely on her deceased husband, messed up his clothes, messed up the casket and all of that, they had to go redo that, is because she was refusing to allow herself to cry as well as her children. So that's an impact that really causes problems for some of us. Okay? So, let's talk about some healthy ways. What are some healthy ways to navigate the social dynamics that I just shared with you? What are some healthy ways to navigate that? Number one, your communication tools, talking to people. Okay. You want to use honest language. Use honest language like, "I don't know what to say, but I'm here. I don't know what to say, but I'm here." Some people will ask you as a grieving person questions you don't have the answers for. Or what else could you do? You could create safe spaces for expression, meaning go to a grief support group, a facilitated grief support group. Don't just go to a group where they're swapping sad stories. You need a facilitator that can guide you guys through that. Okay? So create a safe space for you to express. And it doesn't have to be grief support groups. You can find your friends or your relatives that you feel safe with. Create that and let them know, "Hey, I'm going to be reaching out to you guys. Okay? I'm going to be reaching out when I need support." And then another thing you can do as it relates to communication tools, normalize saying what you need. Normalize saying what you need. Now, here's the challenge. That may not come until later on in your journey, because right after the death, right after the loss, what's one of the questions that many people will ask you? What do you need? And a lot of times you don't have a clue what you need, especially if you've not experienced a significant loss like that. Okay. So normalize saying what you need. Tell them, "I'd like to have some company tonight," or "I need some alone time." You definitely want to communicate what you need. So what's some other healthy ways to navigate social experiences? Boundaries. Teach that it is okay to say no to events, conversations, or expectations. So you're going to have to teach yourself, then you're going to have to teach others. Teach yourself. What do I mean? Because a lot of times, if you're like me, I was that person that was used to saying yes to everything and everybody. So I had to teach myself by giving myself grace to undo that unhealthy coping mechanism. So you got to be able to set boundaries and say no to events, to conversations, to expectations. Here's a tip that you can use when it comes to conversations. When you need to talk to somebody, like the circle that I told you to get earlier, call them and ask them, "Hey, I'm having a moment. Do you have the capacity to receive my pain or my information, or do you have the capacity for me to dump right now?" And based upon what the person says, if they say, "Yes, I do," then you continue talking. If they say, "No, I've got a lot going on right now," then you say, "Okay, thank you for your honesty." Then you go and find somebody else who can. Okay? Find somebody else who can. So you can definitely have communication tools, boundaries, then have rituals. Okay? rituals. These help people unify and validate everybody's grief. So, of course, we see a lot of candlelight vigils. Think about the flooding that took place here in Texas, right? At Camp Mystic. And anytime there is a public death like that, you will see these vigils where flowers will be placed, where the people died, flowers and candles, balloon releases. All of those are things that you can do in a social setting. And definitely ongoing support is going to help you. Continued support, meaning remembering grief anniversaries, birthdays, holidays, moving beyond the initial wave of support into what we call sustained care. You'll need people who can walk with you on this journey, because most of us familiar with people coming to the funeral, coming to the repast, they'll come to the wake. After that, we don't see them anymore. So you're going to need some ongoing support to help you. All right? Ongoing support. If you have any questions about what we're talking about today, go ahead and put it in the chat, and the digital team will definitely let me know if you have a question, or a comment. So, what are some common challenges in grieving together? So, it's okay to have time alone to grieve. It's okay to be connected with somebody else. But when you're connected with somebody else, these things could happen. Number one, you start comparing your grief. You start comparing your grief. I see it happen quite often in grief support groups. Well, people will say, oh, my loss is not like theirs. Oh, their loved one died. Oh, they had died by accident, by suicide or homicide. Oh, their child died. It was just my mom and she was older. No, we don't our grief stories. Oh, they were closer to you than they were to me. We don't want to do those kinds of things. Okay. So that's a challenge when you're grieving together. Thank you, Sophia Yarbrough, for sharing. She says, I haven't found that person yet. Keep searching. It's not uncommon to haven't found them yet, but you keep searching until you find that person that's going to support you where you are. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, comparing grief is not good. Okay. Isolation within community, meaning feeling unseen and misunderstood even when you are surrounded by people. That really is something that I see is very common. A lot of people say, I feel misunderstood. My family doesn't understand my grief. I feel unseen. Even when you're in a room full of people, that's a challenge for some people. They're feeling isolated within a community. What's another challenge? Unhelpful comfort phrases. Most of us have probably had them, right? Where people have come up to you and said some things and it just wasn't helpful. Like God needed another angel. Or at least they're not suffering anymore. What these types of statements, what they can do, they can wound the person rather than comfort them. They can wound the person rather than comfort them. And then what's another challenge that people experience? Different timelines. Okay, different timelines, meaning some individuals may appear to move forward faster, while others continue the process even months or even years later. Again, leading to misunderstanding within the community. So people will say, oh, you appear to be moving fast through your grief process. I did that comparison when I was going through the grief of my divorce, and I was looking at the members, some of the former members of our church. I was married to a pastor, and after that, of course, after the divorce, the church split, dissolved. It ain't in existence no more. Do y'all know that was 12 years ago, and some people still have not joined the local body of believers? It hurt him to the core. It hurt him to the core. Okay? But what I did as the pastor's wife who went through the divorce, I was looking at all the other people, and some of the people I say, oh, it seems like they functioning fine. Oh, it seems like they having a good time. And I'm like, why am I hurting so bad? First of all, the relationship was different. I was the wife. They were a member. They were not married to him. I was. but I was looking at their journey and their timeline. It was different from mine. So that's something that can definitely challenge us when we're grieving together, because the expectation is, should you be hurrying along a little bit faster in the grief? Everybody's journey is individual. Everybody's journey is individual. So I want to move to talking about awkward questions. Has anybody ever been asked an awkward question in grief? You had a loved one to die and they just ask you an awkward question. So for me, I had that when my baby died. Our baby died when we were married. I gave birth to her at 5 months. She was premature and she lived 2 hours and 12 minutes. 2 hours and 12 minutes. So a conversation piece is always, you could be standing in the grocery line at Walmart, be getting gas or whatever, and if people want to talk to you to strike up a conversation, they'll ask, "Oh, you have kids?" That's awkward for me. In the beginning it was. Because at the time, I didn't know how to answer that. I would say, "No, I don't have children," because she died. So it wasn't until I went to my therapy. It was actually a friend of mine who specializes in grief as well, Dr. Susan Adams, and she was a professor up in Denton area. And she said, "Yes, ma'am, you are a mother. And yes, ma'am, you have a child. She died." And I said, "Oh, I'm still a mother even though she died?" She said, "Yeah, you're still a mom." But that was awkward for me. At church during Mother's Day, when they asked you to stand, all the mothers, please stand. I really hated it because my mother died and then my baby died, and I was stuck here in the middle not knowing who I was. So I'm like, I really didn't like going to church on Mother's Day during that time. And when they say, "Well, all the mothers, please stand," I wouldn't stand because I didn't think I was a mother until my grief therapist / friend helped me understand, you're a mother. You are a mother. So the reality is, when people mean well, when speaking to someone who is grieving, often they simply just don't know what to say. Some people don't know what to say. So in an effort to comfort you, they may use some type of common unhelpful phrase, such as, "At least they're in a better place," or "You're young, you'll find someone else." People told me that too when I got divorced. Now the scripture that comes to mind, I was young, but now I'm old and I still ain't dating nobody. I'm like, what? Come on. People say, "Do you want to get married?" I say, "I do." They say, "Well, what's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know. Dating is different now." So yes, it's awkward. Aren't you over it yet? All of these are awkward questions. Let me see. I see you guys saying something. Sophia said, "When people ask you how many children you have since he died, I'm not sure how to answer." Okay, I got you, Sophia. Okay. One of my other attendees years ago, she had a little son who drowned. He drowned. And so she had 4 kids total. And so how she shared it is that she said, "Yes, I have 4 children, 3 at hand and 1 at heart. 3 at hand, 1 at heart." And then I have another lady whose adult child died, and she said, "I have 2 children, 1 at hand and 1 has been promoted to heaven." So maybe a couple of those, hopefully those will help you. But yeah, so when people ask you how many children, you include the child that died. Yeah, because you had them. They're still your child. They're just not here. I hope that makes sense to you, Sophia. Hope that makes sense to you. Yes, since one of the 3 isn't here. Yes. So you still have 3 children. So when people, "Hey, Sophia," this is role playing. I felt like Sophia. What was that, Color Purple? Hopefully that makes you laugh or gave you a smile. Sophia, let's role play. Even though you're on Facebook, I want you to put the number in the chat. Sophia, I'm just meeting you. Hey, how are you doing? Do you have any kids? Do you have children? Put in the chat how many children you have, Sophia. Let me see if you answer correctly after what I just taught you. How many children do you have, Sophia? It did? Okay, so you understand. So you know you have what? 3. You have 3. So That's awkward. So how do you respond to the awkwardness? How do you respond to the awkwardness? Okay. Um, it's important for those who are grieving to know, again, that you have permission to protect your emotional space. You laughing, Sophia, Sophia, Sophia. It is important to protect your emotional space. It is perfectly acceptable to not answer every question or engage every conversation in every conversation about the loss. You don't have to respond. You answered correctly, Sophia. Yes, you have 3 children. Okay? So simple boundary phrases can both be respectful and protective. So for example, one might say, this is how you respond if somebody says something awkward. You say, I appreciate your concern, but I'd rather not talk about that right now. And I can think of a question that a lot of us will ask, especially in the Black community. When we hear about the death of someone, how did they die? What happened? And then who got the body? Those are the 3 questions, right? So if you don't feel like talking about how the person died, say, I appreciate your concern, but I'd rather not talk about it. Or thank you for checking on me, but what I really need now is just somebody to listen. Somebody to listen. Even a gentle just to say, I don't have an answer for that yet. Those are just some examples that should be able to help you when it is awkward and you want to be able to respond to some people. All right. So as we kind of wrap up, we're on our next to the last page here. Practical tips to help you navigate these questions. Again, prepare short responses ahead of time. Okay. Now, this is not applicable if your loved one just died. You're not able to do that. This would be applicable if it's, I would say, you're months into it, maybe even a year. But sometimes if it's new and raw, it's acute, you still may be able to develop this. Like for me, when people would ask me how I was doing when my baby died, I would say, I would give them the true version. When people will ask, how you doing? Because people ask you that a lot. And sometimes people really don't want to know how you're doing. They're just being cordial. So you got to say, okay, is this the speech I'm going to really tell them how I'm doing? I'm having a crappy day and such and such and such and such. Or I'm managing. I'm coping the best way that I can. So you want to develop these short responses ahead of time and surround yourself with at least 1 or 2 safe people who can advocate for you in these settings. Now, some of you may have had those people around when it was around the time for the funeral because you needed somebody to help plan the funeral because you weren't in the headspace to do so. You didn't have the bandwidth to do so. So surround yourself with people who will speak for you. But you got to be able to trust that person that they have your heart and they will speak actually as for you or as you. And they wouldn't do anything to cause your name to be tarnished. But have those people around you and they can speak for you. And just remember, you don't owe anyone or everyone access to your grief. You don't owe everyone that access. So know that, again, even in those awkward spaces, you can definitely set boundaries that way. So how do you shift your relationships and basically redefine your connections? Because sometimes in grief, our relationships change. Our relationships change and you have to grieve and mourn that, and that is okay. That is absolutely okay. So when it shifts, this is what happens. Loss has a way of reshaping our relationships, okay? Some of your friends may become closer. And then others may become distant. And you're unsure of how to respond. What about family roles that shift? So an adult child now becomes a caregiver after a parent dies. So you're taking care of a surviving parent who's not well. Okay? That's a family role shift. Or communication within a community sometimes expects the grieving person to quote unquote bounce back. Which can add pressure. Just bounce back. You got this. You can do this. That adds pressure. And it may cause the grieving person to shy away from you because they don't want that added pressure of you telling them to bounce back. Okay? Is this making sense to you? If it's making sense, put a yes in the chat. I want to know, is this making sense to you? Put a yes in the chat for me. Okay? So why do those relationships change? Why do those relationships change? It's because it's the discomfort with the pain that causes people to withdraw. Okay? Discomfort with the pain, it causes people to withdraw. And it just makes people feel uncomfortable. So grief can cause you to reevaluate your relationships. Thank you, Nicole, for putting that. I'm glad it's making sense. Thank you, Mike. Okay. So grief will cause you to reevaluate your relationships. Okay. Look at all of your relationships. Find out who's truly supportive, who's healthy for you. Thanks, Etta, and who's not. Because a lot of times, unhealthy relationships have been present in our lives, but we tolerated them for whatever reason, or we couldn't see. We were clouded because of hurt, pain, and trauma that we did not even notice that person wasn't supportive of me at all. And they never have been. But in grief, it exposes all that. It exposes all that. So what do we want you to do? As your relationships change, I want you to redefine your connections. The truth is, you're going to be making more friends. Let's see, you're going to make more relationships with people that you did not have in your circle. Meaning you're going to meet new people. So if old relationships change, I have a couple, and I've shared their story as their son died. He was 11, Noah, and I love this. I think it was year 2 for their Christmas party. They are beautiful people, very celebratory, family oriented people, and so it's just the mom, the dad, and now the college age daughter, because young Noah died in an accident, AV accident. So for their second year, when they were ready to celebrate and have a Christmas gathering, they had a party for people who supported them versus having the Christmas party for, their normal guest. So they invited everyone who supported them on their grief journey in the way that they needed. So, and they stated a lot of the relationships changed. We had a whole bunch of new relationships that came, and some of the people we thought would be in that circle, they weren't. And I thought that was a great idea. They just had a Christmas party to honor those people who celebrated them. So when Sophia says no one has been healthy for me, so that means that you haven't found your circle yet. Keep looking. What if you're trying to be there for that person and that person doesn't want you there? It's telling you they don't want you there. Then Nicole, you have to give them that space. Give them that space. It sounds like, again, I don't know the total story of what's going on. You can message me and maybe we can chat about it. I can give you some more insight. But what do? Again, you just let them be where they are. It's challenging to watch people you love in grief, right? It's challenging to do that, but there's nothing that you can do about that other than just being a support to them and offering them support or recommending that they get help. So since that's what they said, they don't want you to do that, then you can stop. That's what happened to you too, Sophia. Yeah. The ones that you thought, they walked away. Yeah, they walked away. And that's not uncommon. It does. It happens. Number one, a lot of people think they can walk with you on a journey like this, but it takes a special person, a compassionate person, to be able to accompany somebody on their grief journey. It really does. So what do you want to do? Redefine those connections. Give grace. Some people may simply not know how to show up well in moments of loss, especially if they've never dealt with their own losses. They certainly don't know what to do with you and your losses. So there are some people you may be able to give grace. So in your circle, you got to know who you can lean on, who's going to let you cry. Then you got to know the person who can't handle that. Some people don't know how to deal with emotions. Their emotional intelligence is very, very low. So they'll tell you to suck it up, keep going. So that may not be what you need in the moment. So you need people who can and handle. They can give you a shoulder, but at the same time not allow you to get stuck in your grief. Okay, so you can give grace, definitely set boundaries, release toxic or draining relationships. Can somebody put that in the chat? Release toxic or draining relationships, okay? Why do you want to do that? Because you got to make space for the healthier ones to flourish. There are healthier relationships coming. So it also helps you to lean into safe spaces by choosing to engage with communities and individuals who nurture rather than deplete you. Who nurture rather than deplete you. Cynthia says, my friends in town, they've walked away. I'm sorry to hear that for you too. It is not uncommon. It is, because a lot of people really don't understand grief. They don't understand the impact of it. And that's okay. Let them be where they are. Okay? Let them be where they are so that you can receive support from these new people that are coming. From the new people that are coming. Nothing against them. Good people. Just let them be where they are. They're just not meant to be on the journey with you. That's all. They're not meant to be on the journey with you. And if they were close friends, all of you, I think three of you, Nicole, Sophia, and Cynthia, have stated the same thing again. So that means you're in grief because you have to mourn that relationship too. You have to mourn that relationship. And mourning relationships is hard work. That's what we call a living loss. You have to mourn even though they are alive. Okay? Then what do you want to do? You want to seek balance. Seek balance. Okay? You may need both solitude and connection. You may need some quiet time, and I need to be connected with people. You just got to be able to find your rhythm. You got to be able to find your rhythm. Okay? So for your homework, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take this week and reflect on your circles, your family circles, your friends circles, just your support. Reflect on them, your supported connections, the people who make you feel safe, seen, and supported. Write those names down. Think about your draining connections, people who leave you feeling unheard, judged, or emotionally exhausted. All of us have those. We can just think about I can think about some people right now, they just drain me. To even think about it, I'm like, oh, I just can't. I don't have the bandwidth today. Think about your draining connections and think about your neutral ones. These are people who may care, but you're unsure of how to engage with them as it relates to your grief. Identify your supported connections, your draining connections, and your neutral ones. Okay? And if you don't have anybody listed in the supportive, that's okay. Your journey is not over. You will have somebody in that space, okay? And once you've made that list, you want to choose one supportive connection you'll reach out to. If you have somebody listed in that space, reach out to them. Say, hey, today is a hard grief day. I'm having a tough time. I'm laughing at Mike on here. I'm sorry, Tonya, for being so draining. You are hilarious. You are hilarious. So yes, so that's your homework. That's your homework, okay? That's your homework. So thank you so much for your time. I want you to have the best 30 days, the next 30 days you can. And I believe next month we are in person. So I look forward to seeing you guys. I'm ready to come back to Austin. All right. So come. We want to see you. Want to see your wonderful face. And remember to take care of you. Because if you don't, who else will? Back to you, Cedric, in the studio.
See, this is what happens when we're doing digital things. Stuff happens, and then you see me talking, and then you can't hear me. So thank you, Dr. Cunningham. Thank you for letting me know that you couldn't see me, and I'm just on here just talking. But just wanted to say thank you to everybody else. But I did want to say to you that the one thing here, there were many, many parts, but the part about healthy ways to navigate the social dynamics. For me personally, just this past week, I ended up running into a young lady, and I was just talking to her. How are you doing? How are things going on? And I asked how her mom was doing because I know that she was kind of going through some things. And although her mother did not pass, but she did have a medical emergency that was very, very close to it. And as soon as I asked about her mother, she was just laughing and joking. But as soon as I asked about her mother, I saw her eyes start to well up, and I'm like, oh, uh-oh,
Mhm. Mhm.
what happened? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? So this was very helpful to me
Good.
as not necessarily being the person that is
Mhm.
going through the grief. And I feel that that could be helpful to a lot of people because just in general conversation, you can ask people, how are you doing? How's your mama doing? How your daddy doing? How
Yeah.
these things going on? And you just don't know what anybody's going through. So
Mhm.
to have this information here to kind of help us, as I say, to navigate those social dynamics and know what to say, kind of have those short responses to it because I tell you, I thought I was ready. I, been around the funeral industry for a long time and
Yeah.
have done this a lot. But as soon as it kind of hits you off guard, like, oh,
Mm.
what
What
do
do
I
I
do?
do?
What do I do?
Mhm.
But what she did, she gave me boundaries. She said I didn't really want to talk about it right now. She was apologetic because she didn't want to cry in front of me. And here I am like, girl, cry. If you need to
Mhm.
cry, that's your mama. Do
That's
what you
right.
need to do. But we had that quick thing right there. So just again, that part from me was
Thank you.
very, 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 very helpful.
Thank you for sharing that. Great example. Great example.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again. Thank you again, Doctor Cunningham. All right. And so to everybody else, just want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for spending your time with us today and joining us this month. Hopefully, this conversation, it offered comfort and clarity and simply, hopefully, just a moment of connection just with us a little bit this month and wherever that you are in your grief journey. So if this session today was meaningful to you, we invite you, once again, as I said at the top, to join us and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any future gatherings like this. And please feel free to share this video with anyone who may need it. And if you or anyone that you love is in need of funeral care or looking for a welcoming space to host a welcoming event, a life celebration is here and will be honored to support you. And you can always learn more and reach out to us by going to alcbf.com. So, a life celebration by Franklin, alcbf.com. All right, that's it. Thank you again, and we will see you next month.